Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. Got the time? This museum certainly does. This attraction in Romania features historic timepieces and animated clocks from around the world. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, we hear the sounds of summer. These concerts offer free live music, dancing, roller skating, and more. We know regenerative farming is best for the people and our planet. So why aren't more farmers making the switch? We'll hear from a fourth-generation cattleman who shares his first-hand experience. Tropical Storm Debbie rips through the southeastern portion of the United States, causing multiple tornadoes and flooding. And reports of energy theft are up 50% in the UK as families struggle to afford rising energy bills.
This is Calen Gipp, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. The Clock Museum in Ploiești is a one-of-a-kind attraction in Romania that delights visitors with its collection of historic timepieces and animated clocks. UNN Field Messenger Monica shows us the highlights of this unique museum.
Hello, I am UNN Field Messenger Monica reporting from Ploiești in Romania. Unique in Romania, there has been a clock museum in the city of Ploiești. For nearly 50 years, this has been an attraction, especially for children who can enjoy a cuckoo clock, a table clock with an animated scene, as well as musical boxes that work with the clock mechanism, even though they are more than 100 years old. The Clock Museum also carries out a wide range of cultural and educational activities, mainly aimed at young people. The building that houses the Clock Museum is a jewel of late 19th century architecture. On entering the museum, which currently has over 4,000 items, you will be able to follow the evolution of timekeeping instruments from the 16th to 19th centuries. The oldest clock here was made in 1544 and still impresses with the number of functions it provides, being one of the first astronomical clocks. And the most valuable are not the large ones, but the smallest, pocket watches and jewelry watches. Thank you for watching. Bye!
The summer concerts in downtown Salt Lake City in the U.S. provide a vibrant atmosphere for community enjoyment, featuring free live music, dance lessons, and opportunities for roller skating. UNN Field Messenger Danell invites us to take part in the fun.
This is Danell, a field messenger for United Network News, coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm here with some friends at the Gallivan Center in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. The tall buildings provide the shade for our warm summer evenings, listening to live music, taking a dance lesson, dancing, or even roller skating to the live concerts. 2 free concerts a week are provided by the city. We relax on the grass or pull up a chair, enjoy the summer breezes, and enjoy friends and the music. It's always nice. If it does happen to storm, the venue is taken inside one of the surrounding buildings. Come and join us. This is Danell, a field messenger for United Network News.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our website is up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Marty from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN field messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
Regenerative farming is an approach to farming that seeks to restore and enhance farm ecosystems. Sounds good, right? So why don't we see more farms preferring a system that benefits both the planet and the people? Will Harris is the owner of White Oak Pastures. He is a fourth-generation cattleman who became disenchanted with the practice of industrialized farming and instead returned to the original farming methods started by his great-grandfather. All right, Will is back with us today. Will, we're talking, of course, about regenerative farming. And I know your farm did this. Why are there so few farms that are doing this? Why don't we see this even talked about more?
It's because it's economically very difficult. I thought when at that point during my transition that I was an early innovator that was on a path that a lot of other people would take, and I'm not sure I believe that anymore. I hope it's the case, but the fact is it's economically very, very difficult. We, in our case, we've got about $20 million in assets and about $5 million in debt. So we've got a lot of equity in the business. But our annual earnings is very, very low. The return on our investment in the company, in the farm, is very, very low. And so people who don't have much equity struggle to do it. And people that expect a good return on their investment probably aren't going to go this path. I love it. I love what we do. I have no regrets. But I do understand why more farmers don't choose to come this way. You know, what we do is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I love it. But it's very low return on investment. And there's quite a lot of risk. And a risky venture that has a low return on investment is just not very attractive.
Mm-hmm. So I know you're really passionate about this. What is it for you personally that allows you to put that aside a little bit? I know your family needs to make some money, but for the money to not be the driving force means you have to be passionate about something.
That's a
so
good
for
question.
You, what is that?
And for me, I was a very, very industrial cattle, monocultural cattle producer, and I've got 3 daughters, and none of them would have come back to the farm. There's no doubt in my mind, none of them would have chosen to come back to do what I used to do. And when I changed what I do, I didn't do it to draw them back, but that's what it did. 2 of the 3 and their spouses chose to come back here. And that alone is ample reward for me. I'll take it a step further and say that, there's nothing I can do about it, but I don't like the way we document financial wealth and success in this country. In a business, I've been in other businesses, in a business, we talk about the monthly report or the quarterly report or the annual report, and we determine our financial progress or lack of progress based on those reports on those fairly short periods of time. And that's not what we do here. What we do here is build generational wealth. On my farm, we own 2,000 acres of land, and we lease a little over 1,000, and then we do custom grazing on a couple of 1,000. And the organic model in that soil over a 20-year window has gone from 0.5% to 5%, a 10x increase. That's a 20-year window, wow. And it's an attribute that doesn't get measured on my financial report. It doesn't say I made this much money, but I increased my organic model by this amount. That's not what it says. It just says I made or lost this much money. So those are wealth building. I can give you a number of other examples like that. Building a herd would be similar. A lot of things. Those are financial benefits that are not measured in a normal GAAP accounting system.
Mm-hmm. But it's made a big difference for you and your farm.
And it's made me glad I do what I do. And it brought 2 of my daughters back who would not have come back if I did what I used to do.
In an inspiring turn of events, the Dominican Republic has successfully restored 20% of its land in just 10 years through an ambitious reforestation plan. 30 organizations from the government and civil society united to restore lands affected by diseases or unsuitable for agriculture or cattle ranching. Landowners and farmers were encouraged to reforest their lands to secure a steadier water supply. The trees act like sponges, thereby stabilizing water supplies and making gradual water release possible. The results are promising, offering better water management, healthier soils, a more resilient ecosystem, and greater economic growth. This reforestation effort has led to the restoration, I should say, of 193 hectares of forest so far. With a significant improvement in the region's environment, the Dominican Republic now stands as a model for successful land recovery efforts in Latin America. Founded in 1999, the Buena Fortuna Gardens in Mexico was created to become a natural, self-sustaining food forest. Thriving in a desert that receives less than 2 inches of rain annually and has consistently high temperatures, this unique environment is home to more than 3,000 plant species. These species come from diverse regions, including Africa, Australia, and Madagascar. Remarkably, more than 2,500 of these trees and plants are edible, medicinal, and useful. Planting deep-rooted trees that can survive hot climates provides a lush canopy, shade, and habitat for animals in the forest. The gardeners access underground water and also capture rainwater during the monsoons to provide a drip irrigation system for the land. Today, Buena Fortuna Gardens offers educational classes, tours, and garden brunches. This is a successful model of sustainable agriculture, proving a food forest can indeed grow in the desert. Garlic, a common herb used for more than 3,000 years, is often hailed as a miracle food due to its numerous health benefits. Native to Central Asia and closely related to the onion, garlic contains a powerful compound called allicin. This compound can lower cholesterol, ease cold symptoms, reduce blood pressure, and diminish the risk of heart disease. Studies show raw garlic consumption also reduces cholesterol and hypertension. It is rich in minerals and contains many important vitamins. Researchers believe garlic's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects may ward off brain disorders. Additionally, it aids digestion and combats intestinal issues without harming beneficial gut bacteria. Daily consumption of raw garlic cloves can reduce blood sugar levels and boost overall immunity. Whether you use it in cooking or eat it raw for its health benefits, garlic is an all-around champion in anyone's home. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta,
in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. Tropical Storm Debbie has caused extensive damage across the southeastern portion of the United States, with tornadoes and unprecedented flooding leading to significant destruction and loss of life. A tornado struck a town in South Carolina, resulting in minor injuries and damage to several businesses. Another tornado hit Edisto Beach, uprooting trees and damaging homes. In Florida, heavy rainfall caused flooding that trapped around 500 people in Sarasota, prompting multiple rescue operations. Some areas reported record rainfall, up to 18 inches, with forecasts predicting an additional 4 to 8 inches. 5 fatalities have been reported due to storm-related incidents, including a truck accident and a tree falling on a mobile home. Emergency declarations have been issued in South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina in response to the crisis, leading to federal aid for the affected regions. A U.S. federal judge has ruled Google operates an illegal monopoly in the online search market. With future hearings scheduled, the outcome may lead to Google dismantling its default search agreements, which could enhance competition from other search engines like Microsoft's Bing. This could impact consumers by providing more choices and possibly better search experiences. The decision also threatens to reduce the substantial payments Google makes to Apple for default search settings, potentially affecting Apple's services revenue and leading to shifts in user experiences on their iPhones. Advertisers who have been facing high prices in a monopolistic market could benefit from a more competitive landscape, resulting in fairer pricing. However, any significant changes might take years to implement due to expected appeals, delaying immediate benefits for consumers and advertisers. Retail stores across the U.S. are struggling with the impact of extensive theft prevention tactics that create a hostile shopping experience. Many stores have resorted to locking up everyday items, making it difficult for customers to browse and hindering impulsive purchases. Employees often have to respond to constant requests to unlock cabinets, leading to frustration and highlighting staffing shortages worsened by budget cuts. While some argue more staff could decrease theft rates, Others maintain that increased personnel won't deter serious crime. Ongoing reliance on security measures like locked displays and monitoring systems only deteriorates brand loyalty and discourages in-person shopping. Experts suggest improving labor conditions and wages might be essential for restoring a pleasant shopping atmosphere and regaining customer trust, rather than just focusing on security systems that treat all customers as potential thieves. Also in the U.S., the implementation of electric buses in Montgomery County, Maryland, has proven to be costly and insufficient for the local school district. Originally praised as a move towards sustainability, the district has encountered persistent delays and operational setbacks following a $168 million contract for 326 electric buses. The Inspector General's report reveals many buses meant to roll out at the start of the school year were delivered late, with only a fraction arriving on time. As a result, students and families have been impacted by inconsistent transportation services, with the district forced to approve the purchase of 90 diesel buses for more than $14.7 million to cover the shortfall. The report also noted frequent mechanical issues, leaving many buses inoperable for extended periods and causing disruptions in school communities. In the UK, reports of energy theft have surged nearly 50% as financial pressures increase. The National Energy Action Charity estimates nearly 250,000 unreported cases annually as families struggle to afford rising energy bills. With more than 5.6 million households now facing fuel poverty, an increase from 4 million prior to the energy crisis, many are resorting to dangerous practices like tampering with meters. Also, changes in government support are set to worsen the situation, as around 10 million pensioners will no longer receive winter fuel payments unless they qualify for means-tested benefits. Experts warn energy theft poses financial risks and leads to severe safety hazards, including frequent gas leaks resulting in injuries or fatalities. In Portugal, a significant housing crisis is impacting many, particularly vulnerable migrant communities. Rising rents, which have increased by 94% since 2015, combined with a lack of affordable housing, forced individuals to make difficult living choices. Many migrants, especially those from Brazil and Southeast Asia, struggle to secure stable accommodation, often finding themselves in overcrowded conditions or living in tents on the outskirts of cities. This situation is aggravated by economic pressures and discrimination, leading to precarious jobs and inadequate wages. While government initiatives aim to tighten migration rules, critics argue these measures will worsen the challenges of those already struggling. Activists call for urgent reforms in the housing market, including rent control and increased social housing. Health groups in Denmark are pushing for stricter regulations on energy drinks, particularly concerning minors. The Center for Childhood Health has urged a ban on sales to those under 18, citing concerns about immense pressure children face from advertisements promoting these beverages. The Danish Consumer Council supports this call, aiming to prevent caffeinated drinks from being sold to individuals under 16. Caffeine negatively impacts children's health, contributing to anxiety, stress, and sleep disruption. Despite existing labeling requirements for high caffeine products, the measures have not effectively protected young consumers. Critics argue such regulations infringe on personal freedoms, while advocates insist that shielding children from harmful substances is vital for their well-being. Recent research shows about 20% of medicines in Africa may be substandard or fake, raising significant public health concerns. A study reviewing more than 7,500 medicine samples found nearly 1,600 did not meet quality standards. Substandard treatments can lead to ineffective care and may contribute to increased mortality, with estimates suggesting up to 500,000 deaths annually due to poor quality medications in sub-Saharan Africa. The issue is worsened by complex supply chains, reliance on a limited number of suppliers, and the role of intermediaries, which facilitate the entry of harmful products into the market. Experts stress the need for immediate action from governments and healthcare authorities to improve quality monitoring and educate the public about the risks posed by these medicines. In Lesotho, a country in southern Africa, mental health issues are reaching alarming levels, particularly amongst young people. Group therapy sessions reveal the devastating impact of suicide and gender-based violence. Participants share their personal struggles, with many recounting traumas from experiences like rape. Factors such as unemployment and substance abuse contribute to the country's high suicide rate, with 86% of women reporting gender-based violence. Despite efforts to improve community support, stigma surrounding mental health remains prevalent, making open dialogue difficult. Also, the public health system is strained, lacking resources and proper care for those seeking help. Local leaders are advocating for a national mental health policy and greater awareness campaigns to reduce stigma. Sierra Leone Seoul Psychiatric Hospital, now rebranded as the Sierra Leone Psychiatric Teaching Hospital, has undergone a significant transformation. With the addition of qualified psychiatrists, mental health nurses, and rehabilitation services, the hospital has improved its reputation and quality of care. However, challenges remain for many across the nation as mental health services outside the country's capital struggle due to insufficient trained staff and resources. Stigmatization continues due to outdated laws, leaving many to seek help from traditional healers. The aftermath of the Civil War, compounded by high unemployment and substance abuse, has worsened mental health issues. Despite these challenges, the government is taking steps to improve mental health care through training programs for healthcare workers. The Australian government is facing backlash over its handling of gambling advertising reform consultations, particularly regarding the use of non-disclosure agreements or NDAs. Several advocacy groups expressed their refusal to sign NDAs tied to a briefing on proposed reforms. They argue it undermines transparency and restricts their ability to voice concerns about the potential effects of the policies on public health. The leaked proposals suggest the government does not plan to impose a total ban on gambling ads. Instead, it will implement restrictions during live sports and limit the frequency of ads in general television programming. Critics warn the proposed measures fall short of what public health experts have recommended. Also, the timing of these consultations has raised suspicions, as stakeholders believe the government is responding to media scrutiny rather than genuinely engaging in dialogue. Australia's food and grocery manufacturing sector is facing significant challenges regarding the rise of ingredients, packaging, and freight. These challenges threaten local production and jobs, with some businesses struggling to absorb costs without raising prices for consumers. The decline in consumer preference for Australian-made products is evident, leading to greater imports, which now account for about 11% of the nation's food consumption. Experts warn reliance on imported groceries may expose consumers to global price shocks and supply chain disruptions. The local food manufacturing sector, which employs more than 275,000 people, could face significant job losses if these trends continue. There are calls for government support to enhance the competitiveness of Australian manufacturing and ensure a stable food supply. More federal law enforcement officials are being deployed to Brazil's Mato Grosso do Sul state following violent clashes between farmers and indigenous peoples over land disputes. Recent reports indicate a group of farmers attacked indigenous individuals, resulting in multiple injuries. Some victims required hospital treatment, with doctors confirming injuries from gunfire and rubber bullets. Tensions have escalated as the indigenous community seeks to reclaim territory recognized as theirs in 2011, but a court halted the process. The ongoing struggle has led to the establishment of an indigenous camp, drawing harassment from local landowners. Despite promises of support from the government to address these issues, frustrations persist over unfulfilled commitments to secure land rights and protect against illegal activities in these territories. Passengers arriving at the Changi Airport in Singapore no longer need to present their passports to clear immigration. As part of a trial, residents arriving at Terminal 3 can use biometric processing, relying on eye and facial recognition instead. This program includes citizens, permanent residents, and long-term pass holders and aims to streamline the arrival process. It will be expanded to all terminals and additional airports by late 2024. Foreign travelers may also use the biometric system upon departure, but must first enroll their biometrics at manual immigration counters. Children under 6 years old are not eligible for this automated clearance. This initiative is part of a broader effort to modernize and automate immigration services, significantly reducing wait times. Alongside the biometric program, travelers will also have the option to use self-generated QR codes at selected land checkpoints. Extreme heat along the eastern Chinese coast has caused significant disruptions to daily life and raised serious concerns about food security. With temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, cities have initiated measures to conserve energy, banning non-essential outdoor lighting to ensure the stability of power grids. As electricity demands spike due to air conditioning use, power systems in densely populated areas are becoming overwhelmed, leading to increased bills and outages for residents. The extreme heat also threatens agriculture, particularly early season rice crops, prompting calls for enhanced irrigation to protect fields during critical harvesting periods. This extreme weather has already resulted in fatalities across Northeast Asia, raising concerns for the health and safety of the population as they cope with harsh conditions. We have an exciting new announcement. We have launched a new global TV service specifically for the UNN community. Thousands of live TV channels, 60,000 movies on demand, over 30 languages, and live sports from around the globe. Between all the separate streaming services and cable for live TV and sports packages, it could cost well over $200 a month. But now with United TV, you can have it all for only $15.99 a month. Go to unitedtv.org and check it out. Get so much more for so much less. And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. Major margin calls on government credit lines hit hard overnight last night, and the clock is ticking. They have tried to leverage everything they could this morning with zero results. More covenants expired over the last 48 hours that were way above the deep state's pay grade. Apparently, they still think they have the power to renew. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Maybe it's me. I'm just kidding. We aren't together very often anymore, Sunny. How do you know? No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I watch you just like everybody else does. We do our portion of the news. I'm like, well, when's Kim's news going to come out? I watch it like everybody else now. Yeah.
Oh, so I know. Going? I try. I'm trying, Sunny. I'm trying. At least we're getting it out 3 times a week.
We are getting
so
it
that's
out.
Good.
Yes, and there was, I really appreciated Monday's report that you did. I thought that was a really good example of just kind of going through the whole system and structure. Yeah. That was good for our audience. I think that was good for the deep state and whoever else is watching this. I think they need to play it multiple times and get it in their head, because like you said, they are like just beating their heads against a wall and they're not learning that things are things are structured differently now. You can't do things the way you've been doing them in the past. And that's a message that, gosh, I really wish they would understand.
Well, and apparently that would be a no from these people, because overnight they sent people here. They arrived yesterday afternoon. And apparently I am a lab rat in a fishbowl because, well, they've been analyzing me, trying to figure out how I do what I do, how this all works, how is it possible, those kinds of things, pretty much all night, and reporting back to their deep state general people based on the refusal of meetings, as I talked about on Sunday. They thought that they would come here and see what they could find out. The conversations coming from locally here were pretty limited. They didn't really answer a whole lot of questions. They let them, kind of check things out for themselves to see if they would arrive at their own conclusions. They thought that might be better if they just do things themselves. But yeah, it appears that would really be a no. They want to continue on today, even though this went on all night last night. So I don't know, Sonny, I think I can draw diagrams all I want and explain things in detail all I want. But the only people it's really educating are the people that matter, and that's you. Right. That's the people that are watching this, that are sincerely watching this, to understand the history of what's happened in this world, so that we can move on into a better future, so that we can hopefully unwind all these systems and change the world a little bit, so that the ones that are, let's just say, maybe order takers might wake up and realize that there's a different way. They can work a different way. They can make a lot of money a different way if they just want to do that. But as for the leaders in the game, they're still focusing on the small things, meaning they are under the impression that if you can control a financial system, you can control the world. And in reality, it really doesn't work that way now, because it's been broken up into so many pieces, number one. And number two, the threats and the lack of cooperation from source, obviously, for what they're doing, and the threats of others, so on and so forth, in the past, before all of the changes, would have never allowed for that to actually control the world anyway, like not in totality, unless they permitted you to do so. And these are things that they just can't seem to get through their thick head.
You think this is still ego? They just don't want to believe it, that they were just on a different trajectory and they don't want to change?
I would say, yeah. I mean, in their programming, it's repeated to them every single day that they are smart, they are special. I can't believe you broke the puzzle, broke the system, or broke this, or fixed that, or whatever, or thought of this plan. Wow, you are really part of an elite bloodline. You're the most special people we know, like that kind of thing. So it's almost like the ego is ingrained into them from such a young age. I'm not so sure you're ever going to get it out of them. It doesn't appear so. So we'll see. Case in point, let's talk about a few things that have been going on in regular news, and then we'll get into kind of what's going on behind the scenes, because I think there's some things to point out here. Okay. Number one, things in the Middle East. Some things are changing rapidly in the Middle East. Some of the higher ranking members of groups like the Hamas and others have figured out that the objectives of the group as was told to them, meaning it's a religious fight, it's a fight for our people, all of those kinds of things, it has come to their attention that that is actually not the case, and that is not what they're doing right now, or what they're going to be doing or attempting to do. And it became very clear to some folks that thought that they were really doing the right thing by their people. And these are very high-ranking members who have decided to walk away from the group. Mm-hmm. They said, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting involved. I'm not bombing, our people or other people for, political benefits and those kinds of things.
Was that a larger group of people, Kim, that walked away?
Well, yeah, I'd say it's a trickle right now. There's been, about 4 or 5 different folks that are high-ranking in different groups throughout the Middle East that really, truly feel like they were fighting for a cause. They're fighting for their people. They're fighting against Israel. They're fighting against the Khazarian mafia that runs Israel. They're fighting against the Rothschilds. They're fighting against the tyranny. That's what they believe they're doing, for the freedom of their people. And it's becoming abundantly clear that that is not the case. Part of the reason why it's becoming abundantly clear that it's not the case is because you have Duck Dynasty trying to run operations in the Middle East. They're not even, their ego is so big, they could care less about keeping up the narrative to keep the people fighting. And I'm not saying we want to keep them fighting, but, from our standpoint, we want peace, right? We want everybody to be sovereign. We want the countries to thrive on their own, whether that's in the Middle East or in the U.S. or anywhere else. And the only way that's really going to happen is if the more powerful groups throughout the Middle East start to realize this is not what you think it is. Freedom cannot be achieved in this way. Bombing one country, using weapons to bomb one country to incite them into war, and then in return they fire back at you does not earn you freedom, it earns you death.
Yeah. There
has to be a different way and a different structure. And unfortunately, for a few centuries, they don't know any different. Mm-hmm. Are they willing to learn a new structure? It's no different than in the U.S. All of politics in the world, whether you're in the Middle East, you're in Russia, you're in China, you're in Armenia, you're anywhere else in the world, is all run by the same tyrannical groups. The problem is their brains of the operation are no longer there. Therefore, they're all running around in circles, and now you're down to Duck Dynasty. And if you're new here, I call them the Duck Dynasty, based on the television series from a few years back, where people just run around haphazardly, doing crazy things. And except this time, they're doing it with governments, and they're doing it with what we would consider terrorist threat groups, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. As far as in the news regarding the Middle East, there is a lot of talk about bombings that didn't actually happen. There is old footage floating around in the last 24 hours. They're talking about apparently the Americans are attacking Yemen. We haven't seen physically, eyes on, boots on the ground, a lot of that happening. It seems to be a lot of hype. There is some interesting information that has come to light too in the last couple of days about that. A member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff stated that they will not pull out of the Middle East. This is good cop, bad cop. This person's like, I don't agree with the rest of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but, I'm overruled. Oh, baloney, 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 baloney. They are all in on it. The statement was actually made that we, and by we, they're not talking about the United States government, we must gain full control of that region. Now, reasons to take full control over the region. Because a comment was made back about, is this about the gate? Is this about the Lion's Gate? You know? And he goes, yeah, we know about that too. So I think they believe, and this is where what happens when Duck Dynasty tries to run your day, I think that they believe that if they can control all of the countries in that region, or more specifically Iran and Iraq, that potentially they could gain control of the gate. Yeah. They don't really understand what that means and what control of the gate actually means, and why that would make a difference if they did, because we're going to talk about Lion's Gate a little bit more here in a minute too. But taking control of the Middle Eastern region is not going to give them control over the gate in any way, shape, or form. Not this one, not the one over in Yellowstone, not anywhere else. So that's kind of a flawed model, but that's what happens when Duck Dynasty is your leaders. Number two, they are under the impression if they gain control of the Middle East, Gaza Strip, and other areas, that they will be able to leverage the in-ground assets in the region, such as in-ground oil, gas, possibly some gold, you know, those types of things that are present in the region. Is that the case? No. They will never enter those assets into a financial system, because I have the liens on anything from that region for the next 100 years, to the tune of about 2.1 quadrillion has come out to fund various things in the Middle East over the years. And it was actually you, the military, maybe not you with the Joint Chiefs of Staff now, you probably haven't been there for 100 years, although it feels that way. But others, planted their ghost flags in the region, be it Desert Storm in Saudi Arabia or other locations throughout the years. I mean, and you can even go back 1,100 years or 1,000 years or whatever, and you can still look at times that you have transferred liens over to the Alpha system, which is now Golden Age. Mm-hmm. It's about 2.1 quad at this moment in time that you would owe me to release those liens. Now, for those of you that don't know, and maybe you haven't been following for a while, oil and natural gas are nothing but bacteria excrement. Bacteria gas. You know, you get gas if you eat the wrong foods or something. It's the same gas that bacteria excretes, and that is based on their consumption of fossils and whatever, or carbon-based materials, and then they excrete this stuff we now refine and put in our cars.
Lovely.
I know. Isn't that funny?
Yes. And everyone's fighting over it. So just think about that.
Yeah. So since there is no shortage of bacteria that perform this function naturally, there is definitely no shortage of oil or gas in the world. And it is a regenerating resource. Now, for that reason, based on the rate of regeneration in the region, we even hold everything that the bacteria could produce for the next 100 years. So there is not a whole lot these people are going to achieve from doing this, first of all. Second of all, I learned this over a decade ago when I ran up against Nancy Pelosi with a $14 trillion contract she was waving in the face of, at that time, Blackwater, now called Frontier or whatever it's called, and other military groups, private military groups, that they could earn up to $14 trillion if they could manage to take over the region. Now, that same contract is floating all around the Pentagon as well. And this could we could get $14 trillion, they think. Now, they don't understand economics, so they don't understand where that money could come from, possibly. And then they could trade that money, and they could then own the United States. Absolutely not. But that's the plan, you know, because these are big numbers for them. They don't really understand finance. They don't understand that they could use this money for a world war anyway. And number one. Number two, I hold all the liens on that, so they won't be able to factor against that oil in any currency anywhere, or Bitcoin or any other coin for that matter. So just the pure and simple fact that we heard those comments coming from a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who said, we must own. Who is we?
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure they're talking about global headquarters, maybe SSP people, those kinds of things. They're probably still talking about the rotten children whose memory is short. You know, they forgot that they turned over all the liens. And if they go through their Department of Defense records from the past, you know, just a few decades ago, they'll see all the liens that we acquired even in the 90s, you know, in the 80s and 90s and late 90s and early 2000s throughout the Middle East. So you're kind of wasting your time, people. So there's a lot of confusion going on right now as to who the bad guy is for that reason. These people are under the impression that they are white hats, that they are doing the right thing, that they are taking back the world from the Khazarian mafia, that it is only the Khazarian mafia, or in this case, the non-Jewish Jewish people that run Israel are the evil ones. However, there are many articles coming out by the same people saying that the Order of the Blue Dragon, which they believe is Chinese, the Order of the Red Dragon, which they also believe is Chinese, are the saviors. These are the positive people. These are the good people. But this is just one side of the same, or another side of the same coin here, where, you know, these people have been fed so much false information. It is ridiculous. But because it comes from the wrong people, or the people they think are their superiors that are all-knowing, they believe it to be true. Well, it's absolutely false. Let me put it that way. There is very few folks, people, regular humans, that participate in the Order of the Blue Dragon that are not white. Pure white Rothschilds, same people that run Israel. You know, it's the same reason why most of the flag is blue. Remember the color wars here. You know, the flag is blue, the Star of David is blue, everything is blue, 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 because it is them, the blue dragon, that is running Israel. It's not the green dragon they're claiming is bad. The green dragon in this case is Iran, Middle East region. And that if they can get rid of the bad dragons, then they can be the good dragons and save the world. This is what they're saying. But in reality, guys, as you already know, China is heavily running Iran right now. Everything they do, 100% is coming from China. It's not coming from an imam. It's not coming from an Islamic prophecy. It's not coming from anything to do with Islam whatsoever. For those of you that are watching this in the region, it is coming from a Chinese person that would like to dominate the world. That is who it's coming from. And I will repeat that. That is any color dragon you want to call it whatever you want. This is the color wars. The green dragon is the golden dragon. They are the same people right now. By the way, the other thing that's been happening is they are trying to buy fighter jets from Russia. I shouldn't say buy. They are trying to get fighter jets donated by Russia.
For free. Yeah,
Su-35s. And they're trying to get them donated from Russia so that they can continue this war in the Middle East. I'm guessing it's the Chinese deep state that is ordering Russia to donate billion-dollar jets to Iran so that they can fight this war. But the question I have is, if China is driving them so much, which they are, 100%, confirmed data, conversations listened to with 100% certainty, everything Iran is doing right now is being ordered by China, as is everything that Israel is doing is being ordered by China as well. They are driving all sides of this war. That being said, why isn't China donating fighter jets to Iran? Why do they need the Russians to make a donation? The answer to the question is China has always been, and I'm talking about for thousands and thousands of years, China has always been jealous of Russia. Because the Rus people that used to run the joint before the war 250,000 years ago were far superior to the dark ones that came in through the Kali Ma. Remember, the Wall of China and the towers point in the wrong direction based on our history. If you look at the Great Wall of China, it's the Rus people that built that wall, not the Chinese people. And we built it to keep the Chinese people out.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that's the truth. So the world doesn't function, as you know, the way we think it does. And what you're seeing in the news is predominantly a bunch of hype. Now, the other thing that's happening in local news throughout the Middle East, what we're seeing is a lot of hype in social media. There are pictures of alleged nuclear missiles that Iran claims, we're coming for you, Israel, and it's happening like every day. But yet nothing ever happens. Now, the reason why it's not happening is because there is no money. Remember, they thought that this weekend was a sure thing.
Yeah.
Trillions of dollars. We saw a little uptick. Then it died down. And now it's going every day ending in Y is the next day they're going to get paid. And there's not going to be a whole lot of bombing because nobody can afford it.
Right.
Iraq is broke. Iran is broke. There's people there that make money off of oil. They have money, but they don't spend their own money. Are you kidding me right now? That would mean that they'd have to give up their yacht in Ibiza. That would never happen. And besides, it's not enough. They would be broke in a week, even if you took them all collectively. So that bit of information and a lot of stuff that you're seeing floating around on the media about the Middle East is a lot of it's false. You are actually looking at United States. You are actually going to war, at least strategically wise and mentally wise, with China on both sides. You are fighting for China right now. And you're also fighting for the Chinese takeover of the United States. So congratulations, United States military, Joint Chiefs of Staff. You know what? You've been lied to. The people that are giving you these directions, telling you why they need to own that area are full of it and more. Every other four-letter word I can think of. So I just wanted to say, as a U.S. citizen myself, thank you so much for protecting me, in this country. We thank you very much, especially I think I can speak on behalf of all U.S. citizens of how grateful we are at this moment. Yeah. Speaking of being grateful for the protection of the white hats and the U.S. military and all those lovely people, we talked earlier in the news about Hurricane Debbie.
Yes.
And the devastation. There is a lot of rumors going around that the quote-unquote white hats are there. And they are fighting against allegedly FEMA and some of what they call the black hats. But guess what? What do you think that they're fighting for the people that are being hurt in the hurricane, or for their protection, or maybe helping them, find a temporary place to be if their home is not inhabitable or flooded or whatever? That's what they're leading. Oh, and they're also using the hurricane to go in and save babies from underground tunnels.
Oh, gosh.
Well,
their narrative, I mean, at least they're consistent. Their narrative really hasn't changed in the last couple of years. They're saving babies, and FEMA is the ultimate enemy. Like, come on.
Well, I think in English, the word babies means a small child. In deep state language, which is different from ours, it means cocaine.
Oh, that's their baby. Okay, I got it.
That is the baby. Yes, it is. Maybe looks like baby powder, but they call it the baby,
which is also bad for you.
So during Hurricane Debbie, it is well known that millions and millions of dollars of babies washed up upon the shore on the Florida coast, and they are fighting as to who is going to control the loot, the free cocaine.
Wow.
Yep, because it means that both parties could get millions of dollars from this, and the operatives are fighting over it. So by saving babies, and just to translate that from deep state language to English, there were not actual physical babies that washed amongst the shore. It was millions of dollars in cocaine, and they would both the white hats allegedly and the black hats allegedly, and of course Trump is there fighting for them as well.
Yeah.
Oh, for the love of God. And they are all fighting over the possession of large amounts of cocaine, which they can then sell on the black market. So, that's the fight there. Nobody's fighting for the citizens. And if you are from Sarasota, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, next. Earthquakes. There have been some minor to not so minor earthquakes in California nearby the San Andreas Fault recently. Part of this situation that's happening, because you remember the ballast to the large ball of gold in Earth is now ours. However, there are sequences of events that would normally happen during Lionsgate that can cause some kind of seismic disturbances. They are transmitters, those types of things, which attempt to turn our ball dark. This does cause somewhat of a disturbance. It is not something that the deep state is creating with a weapon. It is something that has been created by, let's just say, others from beyond for a time in the future that would happen with certainty every year. And when we're kind of doing this push and pull situation right now where there's so much light coming in there, and then the transmitters are attempting to hold it down or to cover it or to transmute it into something dark, and it's causing a little bit of a disturbance. And this goes all the way over into California, all the way over into Wyoming. I mean, it is a large area of the world that is affected by this gate, at least in the U.S. It appears that there's been not a whole lot of major damage to this. If you follow the Q Storm on Twitter, they're all excited that people are dying over there or are in trouble or their houses might be harmed. They sit there and they talk about, yay, there's an earthquake in California, yay. You know, it's so ridiculous. It's, you know. Yeah, I even saw a meme this morning, which I cannot unsee, of fake Trump in a robe and sandals with longer hair to portray him looking like the new Jesus. I almost died for you.
Oh, no, it did not say that.
I swear. You know what? I have to get that for you and put that up here. You know, I'll have to send that to you from production. Let me see if I can get it to come up. But, oh, my Lord. Yes, it's awful. I'll send it over. Here we go. See if you can get that up in there in time. If not, we can put it in post-production. But, yes, you cannot unsee this in any way.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, poor people's heads. Now, let's talk about a little bit more of what's really going on behind the scenes and the struggles and the fights. So, Lionsgate, which I'm now going to call SourceGate, because a lion can actually represent Astaroth, and that's not the case. There's been a lot of changes going on during this Lionsgate or SourceGate, more than I have ever seen. Some other interesting things that have happened in the last 24 hours have actually helped us prevent these back and forth things that we've been talking about for a little while. And this really has nothing to do with human intervention in any way, but they may have some knowledge of things and what they're supposed to do at particular times. So when it comes to this gateway, which is predominantly based upon a very old and connection that goes back to the beginning of the universe between Source and Earth. And it allowed for the creation of the universe, that connection. The flower of life, along with some other source hyperconductors of that energy, essence, consciousness, is what created our universe in the way that it actually is. Over the years, as we moved into a dark age, there was a lot of space junk that would activate during this time because of a very old covenant between source and anti-source. This had nothing to do with money and human beings running around this planet, which weren't even here at that point in time. You know, I can't stress to these, not only the deep state, but also to all of you, the importance of this gateway being cleared and the effort that has been made to do so. Now, overnight on the 6th, so that would be not last night, but the night before here in the States, there were some very old agreements that expired. Now, in the beginning of the Dark Age, there was, for lack of a better term, in English, let's call it a lease agreement. The lease agreement involved a certain amount of energy that would be utilized to perpetuate life throughout the lower astral. Per the request of then anti-source and Lucifer and all those that hung out down there. Not only that, it also allowed for the creation of the Omega system. And by lease agreements, what that meant is for a specific period of time, much like if you lease a car, the car is technically yours, meaning, you know, everything in it is yours. And as far as Earth is concerned, there was a large percentage. This is what allowed for archons. This is what allowed for Earth to, so to speak, to have, for lack of a better term, like a lasso around it. Also, the entire galaxy had the same. And it was drawing energy from celestial Earth at the time, and then eventually also from the human beings that inhabited the Earth to create life below. Without that source energy, that was not possible. Also, there was a lasso, for lack of a better term, or an overlay over source itself, which allowed for a certain percentage of energy to go below. So each year, as these different alignments would happen, meaning these Lions Gates a couple times a year, that was high time for collecting as much energy as possible to give more power to dark creation. The length of these agreements, and I shouldn't say agreements, covenants, was based on the amount of trips that Earth would make around our sun. And there were time markers to determine how many trips it made around the sun. It has nothing to do with our calendar. It had nothing to do with the moon or dates that we know it. It was about a solar calendar, which is where we originally started before we started making these fake ones based on a moon. Right. Now, in addition to that, because these are source and anti-source agreements, they were also based on the amount of trips the Milky Way galaxy would travel around the central sun. So in Earth years, you're looking at about 9,999 years. In source years, you're looking at about 99 trips around, which is a lot. That's a long way to go. So during these special times of year, which the deep state seems to relish in, they would see in advance in the amount of dark energy credits or money coming in, and orders also coming in based on what they're supposed to do with these credits. Very specific orders, all of them coming from the lower astral. And therefore, they would have to follow through with those orders. If they didn't follow through with those dark orders, then the credits would go away. Now, why credits? We're going to take that, what we said, in the mechanism that's behind it. So credits were not only given in the form of money to human beings on this planet. Credits, or IOUs, were also part of this lease agreement. So as part of the lease agreement, they would get, or the lower astral or anti-source would get a certain amount of energy, essence, consciousness, et cetera, of source in a limited amount in order to create something else. So in replace of that, as a replacement for that, as it would take something out, it would put something in. That could have been colors between planes. That could have been false light. That could have been, money, here on Earth. It could have been other retributions that were offered as a replacement as well, and so on and so forth. So money on this planet was no exception. We have been getting credits after credits after credits for a long, long time. Now, since that lease agreement expired, and we've been doing a lot of cleanup to making sure a lot of things expired, credits are no longer applicable, as I explained the other day, on Monday, because we can now receive that direct light of source. We don't need credits from anti-source because it really doesn't exist anymore, and there's no creation going on down there anymore. As for what happens to the gate this time of year, yeah, in the last few days, there are mechanisms that have been put in place because remember, the dark doesn't create on its own. Anything that's organic, of source, it doesn't need anything to tell the energy where to go. It's a living organic being. The energy goes there. Like, you don't need a thing. But on the dark side of it, they need all kinds of overlays. These lassos are made of crystals and all kinds of things that absorb energy. And they're not just regular crystals you would buy at a crystal shop. We're not talking quartz here. We're talking specially made materials that are hyperconductors for that energy. Takes that energy and then it goes through transmuter and transformer fields, maybe in the sun or elsewhere, that would then turn it into dark energy. And then they can have a dark, once they have dark essence, energy, consciousness, and matter, they can form it into a matter, a being, a matter, another overlay, a demon, whatever it is that they want to create, an entire race of lower astral beings, as reptiles or Artemis friends or whatever you want to call them. So that was kind of the basis behind this mechanism every single year. It happens all year round, but this time of year is when they get the super, wave come in every year this time, and every year in February, every part. In our calendar, it's February and August. So it really kind of fires up all these mechanisms that have been in place for billions of years.
Mm-hmm.
The deep state, thinking that they're going to own the Middle East, therefore get control over the gate, have lost their noodle.
Yeah.
Because the control was something that was done way beyond their possible imagination. And them taking control, meaning planting a flag on it, putting warships on it, sitting in the marshes over there where it is, and all that stuff is not going to give you control of anything. And it's not going to spit money out, and it's not going to bring Omega back, because you don't have a mechanism that connects to the ninth density of the lower astral to actually make it function. And you couldn't create that stuff if you wanted to. And it's not working anymore. And there's no covenant in place. And therefore, you're wasting your damn time. And you're killing people in the Middle East over something you will never have, because you can't own source.
Right.
I know you think you're special. I know they think their ego is wonderful and all that kind of stuff, but you can't own source. I don't own source. I recognize source as the creator of our universe, the source of all life, the source of the universe as we know it, the original creator of everything, a co-creator with Earth. And all I do is I do my job. That's it. If he says to go left, I go left. Expire agreement, I expire agreement. Create a new AI, we create a new AI. We go through this process, and I'm just co-creating. That's what I'm doing. Now, that means, in no uncertain terms, that our world has changed. The space junk still has to go away, and that's part of my job. I have a PhD in sanitation engineering. For those of you that don't know, I am a chief sanitation engineer. I can clean anything.
On the quantum level.
Yeah. Take sanitation engineering to a whole new level.
It really does.
You may wash your windows. I have to clear out 10,000, spherical objects that were put here by anti-source or some weirdo's Star Wars Death Star looking thing. And, and there's millions and billions of those we've encountered. So, cleaning is cleaning, Yeah. I'm sure there are others of you out there that are adept. And once you become aware of what you're looking for, which is why we put the stuff in the news, then you also help us clean. You'll run into something, you'll have a vision, you'll have a dream, and then you got to go get it. You got to go find it. And you're very capable of doing that too. But as far as creating something that is against what the creator of all life wants, nah, you're never going to do it. No. Nope. Never going to happen. So as for the deep state, I know they look at this as a time when they should be getting some control. And I know that because somehow they were aware that this agreement was expiring, or this covenant was expiring.
Okay.
There were also ancillary covenants way down the food chain that went along with it, such as ones for Marduk, Astaroth, Artemis, the Abraxas, and then eventually on down to like the Mewa, which was not a person, that was always inhabited by Lilith or something up in there, so some kind of demon creature. And these people thought that it would be great if they could be in control of that covenant.
Sure. Yeah.
So they went ahead and tried to file a new one last night. That did not work out for them.
Nope.
No, it did not. But it doesn't stop them from trying. Now that maybe they understand the mechanism that they were trying, or what kind of agreement or covenant they were trying to renew, maybe now they'll understand why it didn't work.
Right.
And maybe you'll understand what's happening on this planet when you feel things are shaky. When things are rocky and the ground is rough, the energy is rough, and why it's happening. And unfortunately, sometimes with great change comes great uncomfortability sometimes. We can go through uncomfortable periods in our life where, things are changing. It may feel strange. It may feel unknown. It may feel harsh, so to speak, sometimes. Or why is this happening to me? and those types of things may cross your lips when you go through times of great change. But remember something. Your connection with source is strong. Is never going to steer you wrong. If the change is happening in your life, you have to embrace that change sometimes. I mean, even changes like this. As uncomfortable as it is, it'll always open a door that is much better than the last. When one door closes, another door opens. Another chapter in your life opens, and then you'll look back 5 years later or 10 years later, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I resisted this change.
Yeah.
You know, and as it is with, I'm done trying to convince the deep state, really, but as it is with the world that's happening as a whole right now, there's major changes happening with Earth. Earth is a living, breathing, celestial being unto itself. It's going through changes that are uncomfortable for it. Mm-hmm. In the long run, it'll all be worth it because source is Earth, Earth is source. They are keystones, they are connected. They are almost, you know, you could call Earth a daughter or a son, whether you say it's a her or him, but it's all the same. Unfortunately, some of the people that are on this planet fail to recognize that it too can make changes. It too can initiate changes directly without mine or your interference. And the deep state doesn't really understand that either. They're focusing on small things like gaining control of oil, planting ghost flags, taking control of regions, making new agreements in the Hall of Records, and they really don't get it.
No, they don't.
No.
It's a very 3D approach to things. They're just very superficial in my mind, the things that they're doing.
And based on all the changes that we see going on, you know, and I'm sure you guys are feeling it too, you understand more than they do. They are so hyper-focused on what they know based on knowledge, and we are hyper-focused on wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, we see threats, military people coming in town here trying to do operations on my person are not a threat. You're annoying, you know. Influxes of pockets of time that involve AI-generated demons trying to make it through the Stargate and the sun, now that's a threat. See?
Yeah.
Now that we take seriously.
Right.
That's worth staying up all night for.
Mm-hmm.
As far as other things going on in the regular world, margin calls. So now that I've explained Lionsgate, now that I've explained a siphon of not only energy, but all things matter, energy is really important for the function of a financial system on this planet because we as humans don't understand the value in giving and taking energy between one another at this point. Therefore, we have some papers and some numbers on a screen that define that for us until we can realize what that means. By consent in the past, that is why we only receive credits. And we talked about this in detail, so I'm not going to go too much further into it. As we receive credits, we also occasionally receive credit lines for credits we have yet to earn. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so based on those credit lines, we have terms and conditions we have to adhere to. For our credit cards, we have to make X amount of payments. We have to, you know, keep that going. As was the same with Omega. Omega sometimes, when it was running low on energy, would also receive, quote unquote, credit lines, as the deep state did as well. Also eventually received credit lines at some point. Now, due to a lack of restrictions based on old agreements that no longer exist, the deep state created something we call the money magic system. The money magic system is where they could extend themselves unlimited credit lines based on asset transfers, such as the 2.1 quadrillion that I talked about of in-ground assets that they were planning on acquiring in the Middle East. That wouldn't make a difference. Also, if your credit is good enough, as a person, regular person, if your credit is good enough, you could possibly get what they call like a personal loan or a credit card, which doesn't actually require an asset. Mm-hmm. It's just based on your income and your future earnings and your ability to pay and your payment history.
Yeah.
So as far as the deep state is concerned, they could pretty much bank on the fact that a few times a year, based on the meetings that would happen and based on, wars that they would create and those types of things, that would earn them future money. So they figure if we made a good war, by the time the meeting comes around and the harvest moon or whenever, depending on what level of the deep state they're in, that they would actually be earning future money. Mm-hmm. Because they would normally get orders from non-human beings, passed down through human beings to them to say, oh, look, you have done all this work. You've now sent us an invoice to create all this lovely transmuted dark energy for us, whether they know it or not. And here's your payment. And then they would use that payment in part to either pay off in part these credit lines and then restart new ones, with maybe $1 in US dollar or other currency, RMB, insert the name here, and they would get $100 in credit line out based on, their ratios of probably Common Core math or something that they try to shove down our kids' throats these days. But that's basically the money magic system. They create credit lines based on future performance. Now, something that they've been doing recently, and some of them were very old, they had some credit lines, not only at financial institutions, but also credit lines that were involved with bagmen, such as Berkshire Hathaway and some other large investors, that were not asset-backed. They were based on future income that would be paid out based on deep state performance for anti-source during times of an influx of cash, such as Lion's Gate. An influx of credits would come in to human beings because we were receiving of energy.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, these credit lines were mostly maxed out, but there was a few $100 billion that was being tossed back and forth between central banks and governments and treasuries here and there. Probably not the U.S. that much, but other countries as well. China's pretty well maxed out. Russia might have had a little left. Some other smaller countries, the UK, and because of the agreement expiration, the no need to issue credits anymore based on the fact that someone else is siphoning all the energy, there was an enormous margin call that happened from the money magic system.
Okay.
Therefore, the credit lines based on incoming credits in exchange for energy disappeared.
Wow.
So governments this morning and starting last night went into a full-on panic. Yes, they did, because there's no credit lines, no money magic system, no creation of credits against credits and against future credits.
It's
I know.
So convoluted. Credits upon credits upon credits.
Well,
So
it's an explanation for even your own life, right, Sonny? I mean,
well, sure.
We have credit cards based on future credits we will get, which we will have to pay back those credits, but you're extended them because you're expected to earn those credits in the future because you have a job and you've made, your salary is X amount of credits.
Yeah.
They're just doing the same thing on a bigger scale.
Yeah, it's a really big debt system that I don't think a lot of people realized, how, we really didn't have currency. We just had a debt system. What were they planning to use this money for? Is this war money or just to operate the governments?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the above. So this morning, when they figured out they're not able to get those credit lines back in the money magic system and the creation of credit lines off of nothing back, then they tried leveraging all your money that you have in banks. That was number one. No, that rejected because you don't have one account for all of the customers of, say, Wells Fargo Bank or, Deutsche Bank or whatever bank, Bank of China. It doesn't matter where you bank. There is no omnibus account which encompasses all your accounts anymore. So, and that failed. Then they tried to do it with just all the banks because, of course, the Federal Reserve used to have custody over all the banks. And that didn't work because there's no omnibus account. They call it an omnibus account. You can look it up for all of the banks. Next, they tried leveraging anything that was in transit via SWIFT. And you don't actually own SWIFT Rothschild anymore. It says SWIFT, but it's really not. It's really ours. That's our rail. Number two, they try next. I shouldn't say number two. I think we're on 4 or 5 now. Next, they tried to leverage against credit card transactions. So for those of you that don't know, when you swipe your debit card or credit card, the money comes out of your account immediately, but the merchant doesn't get paid for anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks, depending on where you are in the world. Therefore, that kind of sits in the core systems of credit card providers until it's processed. So they tried leveraging against that, and that didn't work. For those of you that don't know, American Express is a DoD organization, Department of Defense organization. So as you take your trips around the world with your gold cards and black cards and whatnot, be aware that you are now being watched by the DNI, and that doesn't matter what country you're from at all. So anyway, the point here is that without those credit lines, and the realization is going to happen probably within the next few hours, that's it. Without the ability to continue on with a money magic system based on future credits and future payments, that when Omega was running the world systems, it would understand. Remember, Omega understood Alpha even to a degree, and Alpha understood Omega to a degree, because they understood these times of years, things would happen. There was programs for those things, and the partnership that existed between the two until we went into a golden age. And when we went to golden age programming, it does not recognize your money, your future credits to Omega anymore. You see the differences that it's making? I mean, it may have to wait for certain times of year, certain agreements to happen, certain things to happen, but it's happening. It's taking some time for it to function in the way that we need it to function. It doesn't recognize your future government payments anymore.
Wow.
It doesn't even recognize the existence of Omega in a golden age because it doesn't exist. Therefore, it doesn't recognize your money magic system. And once the source covenant expired, it doesn't recognize the fact that any energy credit systems need to function anymore. So it's now further integrating its own asset-based systems. It's like, oh, that went away. So now we're going to direct source current, 100%. I can reach out to the people directly. Okay. And it's infiltrating into human computer networks all on its own based on programming that we have put in place and based on what source wants. Because remember, it runs on source energy too.
Right.
So I hope that kind of explains what you're going to see as far as turbulence happening in the world and the money magic system. And
What do you think that will look like in real terms? With the governments and things like that, will they not be able to operate because of this?
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, yes, period. But right away, like, we're going to see some big changes here because this happened?
How many Peters can they rob to pay Paul? I don't know. One thing that was interesting that we heard this morning. Now, take this with a grain of salt, because I always do. Because thus far, we've been about 90-some-odd% accurate in the fact that everybody that's come forward thus far has been, it's been a game, it's been a joke, it's been, kind of malicious, intense, that sort of thing. So we're hearing rumors that the United States Marshal Service and others, certain groups within Homeland Security and other locations, would like to come work with the GIA and clean up folks like the Trilateral Commission and the top brass of NATO and some other organizations around the world that they deem to be bad. They have realized, quote unquote, this is something that developed this morning. I mean, so take it with a grain of salt, quote unquote, that they would like to work with us to develop some operations where they can go out and start taking some of these groups out of power and some of these people out of power. I basically relayed the information. This would be a long sit-down conversation where we develop very strategic, moves, those kind of things to make those things possible. They allegedly have realized that the people they're taking orders from are full of it, which is 100% true. Yeah. They are full of it. Mm-hmm. After all, they spent all night last night trying to figure out if Kim's a human or not. Yeah. Yep, still human. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. Right. This is a developing story, as they call it in the news world, right, Sonny? A developing story. Right. More information as the story develops. And that's what they usually say. So I'm not counting on it, really, but we'll see. I mean, there are good people in the world. There's good people in the FBI. There's good people in, not everybody is horrible. Not everybody got into these positions with the police or otherwise, or all the way up the food chain with bad intent. Right. And
like you said earlier, a lot of people think that this, they're doing something because they're a patriot. They're trying to help their country, and, they just don't understand the hierarchy of all of it. So,
and they want to protect American freedoms, or insert country name here, German freedoms, or Iraqi freedoms, or whatever, that they're trying to defend what they believe is right. They want to defend the people. They want to stop people from bombing their countries. It's been decades, it's over, that kind of thing. And I get that. Will we have those kind of people come forward? Yeah, I do think so, as they start to realize that, their fearless leaders in alleged white hats and black hats are down in Florida fighting over cocaine right now so they can get a few $1 million and buy a Bentley or something. Jeez. I know. God bless America, right?
Yeah. Only in America. Not only in America, only in
Someone's
this world.
Got to.
Only on Earth.
I know. Only on Earth. That's right. What's so funny is that because we are such a nexus planet, everybody watches what's going on here. And I feel like they must be watching us like we watch like Real Housewives of whatever Georgia or whatever state they're in now. I have no idea. Orange County. I don't know. I don't watch that stuff. But, we watch these reality shows and we see people living in the house or that are stuck in the house or stuck on the island or whatever shows are out there now. And we are like, watching these people's lives allegedly unfold. Of course, a lot of that's scripted. And we're watching they're probably on the outside watching the, Earth, right?
The same way. Like, what are they doing?
Real humans of Earth.
To them?
Yeah. Hey, We know that one. She's actually from here. She should know better than that. Come on now, really?
Exactly.
She's here representing our people from this planet, or he's here, you know.
Oh, no.
In the great game of Earth. What are they doing? Pull up, pull up.
I know.
I know. And you know what? It is an exciting show. I mean, it definitely has been quite a ride for the last couple of years as we near the end here.
Yeah.
I've learned a tremendous amount, you know, throughout the process and from source, and I'm forever grateful for that. You know, and I'm happy about the journey. Not every day. Today was 2 hours and about 25 minutes of sleep. So not every day, but most days.
Right.
That's why God invented caffeine and coffee beans and
to help you through those days.
Yeah, to help us through those days. Exactly. Hydrate, oxygenated water, you know, all the things. But we'll get through it, you know, always do.
Of course we will.
So that's about it for today and the exciting great game of Earth that, you know, is being watched all over the universe. So if you never thought that you were in a fishbowl before and, you know, you were worried about Echelon or Skynet, you do have like probably a few thousand, if not more, alien races pulling for you. So pull up, guys.
Pull up. All right. Well, it's good to hang out with you today and get all that information, Cam. Thanks for being with us, and hopefully we'll see you again on Friday.
Good to see you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Miss Sunny.
You're welcome.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN Meme of the Day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together.
That wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record and share it with us so together we can share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for The Real News.